Hello, future millionaires, and welcome back to the Get Rich Slow podcasts. We're your hosts, Adrian Shermer, Rob Delavan, and Mr. Brilliant at the Basics, Lance Johnson. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Kathryn, I'm excited to record with you again. It's awesome to have you back.
Thank you.
Heck yeah, we're back with Kathryn, episode 2 of 3, exploring her life, her career, and the wonderful things she does with the company she's with. You can find us online on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, YouTube, and a number of different streaming services. If you've got one you love, please let us know. We'd love to hop on that platform. And as I said, today is all about Kathryn Gerhards and specifically Rise Services Incorporated, which is a wonderful organization. Kathryn was born and raised in Portland, Oregon. She has a BA in psychology with a minor in American Sign Language. And since graduating in 2012, she's worked with nonprofits providing support to underserved communities. And yesterday was really all about Kathryn's very storied history. You've been through a lot. The work experience column is full of I don't know. It's kind of like strength training, right? You've picked up the heavyweights at this point. I know I did shot put in high school. You do it with a heavier ball, and then you compete with something lighter. I think the work you're doing now is still extremely valuable, but you're not getting bit as much right now, I hear. So that's good.
Correct. Yeah.
Mostly just that little guy. He doesn't seem too ferocious.
on the
And
day.
today is more about getting to know what you're doing currently and how you're making positive impacts on the community that you work in.
Okay, Kathryn, let me kick us off here. So tell us about your business and what makes you so passionate about it. And then we'll follow up with what makes you different and sets you apart.
Awesome. Yeah. So Rise Services is a nonprofit that provides supports to people with developmental and intellectual disabilities all across the state. And so that's what we do. We have a bunch of different services, service models that we provide supports to, a bunch of different offices. But at the end of the day, what we're doing is providing supports to people with developmental and intellectual disabilities. So what that could look like is just really helping them live as independently as possible, depending on if they're 2 years old or 80 years old. We're focused on how to help them be as independent as possible. So if that's learning social skills, playing games, going to the park, that kind of stuff, or if it's going grocery shopping, paying bills, making sure to take medications, whatever it looks like. I mean, it's a really dynamic position because the people that we work with are super dynamic. So there isn't a, this is what you do every day, but the easiest way to sum it up is just helping people live as independently as possible.
And obviously your passion kind of shines through on this. Like this is incredible work. You are making a difference.
Yeah, definitely.
And so you're making that difference. What sets you apart? And this can either be your role or Rise's, where's that come in?
I think what sets us apart is we are, and this is why I love what I do, is we are really all about personality and fit. So like I said, the people that we support are super dynamic. They range in ages, interests, location, etc. So we're always trying to find the support workers that will match and be a good fit for that person, because it's not just about you need the support, here's a person, make it work. It's like we're really trying to find someone who is going to be a good person for you to help teach you those skills or build a connection with you or have that rapport. And so that's a big focus of what we do every day, is trying to find good matches. And then what makes my job really fun is that everybody that works at Rise really wants to work at Rise. And everyone really cares, like genuinely. At the end of the day, what we're doing is trying to provide the best support that we can, and so we're all on the same team working towards the same goal. And so it's just a fun environment to work with because everybody's there for the right reasons. And we get to be super creative because we work with people, we don't work with widgets. So it's not like, hey, this is how you solve this problem. It's always like the world is changing and this is what's happening and this is the person that we have today and this is their response. So how do we adapt and change what we're doing to be the best that we can be for that person? And not everybody what works for one person isn't going to work for another person. And what worked 5 years ago for recruitment doesn't work today. Even a year ago with COVID, like things have totally changed. And so what I look forward to every day is just thinking creatively and doing things different and having the opportunity to change up what I'm doing and try to solve the same problem in a different way.
So your product, I mean, every organization has a product, right? Your
Yeah.
product, even though you're nonprofit, but your product
Right.
is literally making people with developmental disabilities, their lives better by connecting them with people who want to pour into them and frankly, get
Right.
paid to do it, right?
Yep.
Which is kind of powerful. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. We don't sell anything. We don't make a profit. It's hard to say, like, at the end of the day, we sold 10 widgets or whatever. Like, that's not what we do. But it's like, at the end of the day, did you try as hard as you can? Did you make a connection? Like, did you make somebody smile today? Like,
right.
those are the types of things that you can't quantify. But it's more of like an internal feeling of like, man, today sucked and it was awesome. Or today, we've been working all day or all year on helping this person memorize their address, and they memorized it, and we did it. And like, it's those types of things that we do every day.
Wow, that's powerful.
All right, Kathryn. I love asking you these questions because I was a little embarrassed that I didn't know that you guys existed, because this is such a wonderful organization. And I think sometimes we feel in the world that there's not enough being done for people like this. This impacts me personally. I had a brother who had Down syndrome. It's incredibly difficult for people who are even high functioning to operate in this world. And it's really great that a safety net like the services that your company provides exists. So I can't thank you enough for what you do. I want to ask, what do you get asked most by your clients? And what's the number one pain point that you solve for them?
That's a great question. And I was reflecting on this question, and there are a couple of things that we hear all the time. Number one, the biggest issue that we have is that there aren't enough people to do this work. So we have 500 people sitting on a wait list right now waiting for their person across the state. And they're just waiting. They want
just
the
Oregon?
support. Just Oregon. Yep.
Oh,
wow.
And so this is a service that they want, that they know that they need, that they know that they'll benefit from, and we just don't have the people. So I would say, I guess the number one question I get asked is, when are you going to find my person? How are you finding my person? When am I going to get my person? And that's the hope that we're always trying to solve, is who do we have and how do we match people and how do we make the best match? And the biggest kind of issue with that is, financing, people wanting to do this work, hourly wage. It is more of an entry level position. And so trying to get people who want to do this work, want to stay and want to build that connection. And it's great when we get people we've had multiple people who this is their first job, and then they move on with their career, but they stay a natural support for that individual because they built that connection, and now they're part of their support network versus being a paid support. And so that's kind of the dream. But I would say that's what we do every day, and that's our biggest hurdle, is just literally having the people that want to do the work.
And how many people, Kathryn, do you employ right now compared to the 500 positions that you're trying to fill?
We have about 650 employees in the state.
Wow,
that's
just
huge.
Just a small organization, huh?
What an impact.
Yeah.
If I can ask just a quick follow-up, what's the ratio, I guess, I'm sure everyone requires a different level of care, but do you hire someone and that one person gets assigned to a single recipient of care, or?
It's a good question. And it depends. So in the Portland metro area, the majority of our clients or individuals that we support live at home with their parents. And so the family unit gets to set how many hours they want a week or how much support that they get. So they could have access to 700 staffed hours, but they might only want 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 a week. And so that's another thing that we do when we're matching, is if somebody comes to us and just wants part-time work, great, you only want to work 3 days a week. Here's a family that only wants 3 days a week. And so we match them together. But if you want 40 hours a week, then we might match you with 2 or 3 individuals that you work with one-on-one. but you would go to several houses throughout the week, kind of depending. And so that's part of that fit that we're working on as well, is like, where do you live? Who are you looking for? What are the hours you want? What's your personality? Who do we have?
Your HR is busy, huh?
Well, and
Sometimes.
I'm kind of interested as the financial advisor, how do you get funding for it? Like what's, you got 650 people that need needs and you got to staff up, but how does that work as far as your funding?
We are state funded. So all of our money that we get comes from the state through disability services. And so if a person is diagnosed with a developmental disability, they take what's called an ONA, or an Oregon Needs Assessment. And that is like a 200 question questionnaire that spits out a number that says, this is how many hours the state will pay for you to receive services. So it could be 20 hours a month. Those are probably littler kiddos, because it's expected that parents are the natural support for 2-year-olds. So there will be a little bit of help that the state will provide, all the way up to 700 hours, which is pretty much 24/7. And that's probably for adults or teenagers who are getting close to adulthood that really can't depend on parents to provide 24/7 hours worth of support. And so the state does all of that figuring out. And this year, we've been in legislation for years and years. The rate model for this service has never been fully funded. But as of this year, the hope is that they are fully funding the rate model. And so we're all looking towards getting a wage increase from the state, because everybody that provides this service gets the same wage, and kind of pigeonholes us into what we can pay staff because of what they'll pay us. And so that's something that's kind of on the horizon for this.
It's a good thing
position.
that Rob, Adrian, and I don't take that questionnaire, because we'd probably be service this, they'd find out. So.
I'm
Very
sure.
true.
Very true. You know our limitations, Kathryn.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
And you guys hit this on the head earlier as well, as like, you wouldn't know about Rise unless you know about Rise. You wouldn't know unless you know someone who works for us or has
There's no Rise
with a developmental
billboard.
disability. Yeah, right.
You guys aren't paying for a box seat at the Blazers or something. It's it all goes to help.
Right. I think it's interesting that you all get paid the same. So that's we know in any hockey team, any soccer team, any business organization, there are your rock stars, and then there's people that need to get caught up, and there's just a bell-shaped curve of quality of services, but you all get paid the same. So it's kind of interesting. Different world than the private world.
And so something that people ask is like, why can this agency pay more than your agency? And it's usually because they don't offer benefits, or they don't offer HR, or they don't offer supervisors, or they cut the overhead to give the people more money, which is great, but then they're set up to fail, because what happens if something goes wrong? What happens if you get hurt? What happens if you need time off, or whatever it is? And so that's another thing that the state is looking at, is like, how do the agencies that are doing this work all have the same expectations of employees? And the only other thing that I wanted to just make sure to say is, like, you all know what a CNA is, right? If I say that acronym, that
certified nursing assistant.
Yeah, that
Rob might have married one.
person.
She's moved on. But.
She's an RN, but yes, it's a CNA, right?
But that's another acronym that you know what that means. But if I say DSP, which is what we employ, you've probably never heard of that, don't know what that stands for, have no idea.
I would say Gesundheit.
Right.
So that's another mission of what we're trying to do, is make DSP, which is people that provide the support, and CNA a similar like household term, because there are thousands in the state of Oregon alone, and you don't know it.
Is it direct service provider or
close? Direct support professional.
Okay. And it is a certification, right? Like you're going through that process.
Yeah, you get trained through us, and then by the time you're done training, you are a direct support professional. It's not as like, you can't go to school for it, so it's a little bit different, but it is a career path that people can take.
Interesting. Huh. That's fascinating.
All right, I love asking this question, but Kathryn, right now, in your career, in your life, what are you most excited about right now?
This is a good question. I feel excited. I've reflected on this a little bit because I feel excited every day. I am a goal-oriented person, and then I've realized through this process that I set like tiny goals. Like, oh, by the end of this week, I want to do X, Y, Z, or by tomorrow, I need to do these things. And so I guess I've just been thinking about this a lot. And what I'm really most excited about is, as you probably heard of COVID before. I don't know if that hit your business, but we are kind of coming into a new normal. And it's been really hard to plan or set long-term goals, because especially with working with people, there's no way to like remote in that one-on-one service with people with developmental disabilities. So everything's kind of been on pause or short-term planning of like, okay, let's get through this week, let's get through this month, let's wait until we hear back from this agency or whatever. So what I'm most excited about right now is this like new normal of we're getting back in person, we're figuring it out, we're opening things back up, and we're in a different world than we were pre-COVID. Things are more digitized. People are expecting different things out of a work environment. People are job searching differently than they have before. And there's just more and different awareness and opportunities. And I don't think we fully even known, or like there's no way to know what that's going to look like yet. So every day is just kind of a new day, a new time. And so I'm just really excited for the untapped possibilities that are out there right now, and just kind of what the next 6 months are going to bring as we kind of all figure out this new normal.
So you're definitely evolving your business model. You're in transition.
Always. Yeah.
Interesting. Is there some specific examples of like how you're hiring today versus what you were doing before? Or are you still working on that?
Well, we went pretty much fully remote as much as possible. So pre-COVID, we didn't do any virtual interviews. They were all in person, and that was just how you got a job. And now we were like, okay, now we're going to go back all in person because we've been all virtual. And now we're finding, like, especially in the Portland metro area, our office is in Tigard. And so if you live in Troutdale, you're not going to drive to Tigard to do an interview for a job that you don't even know if you're going to get. And so that's a new pivot that we've done of like, okay, let's offer both. Like, why not? We can do both. Right. And so why does it have to be all or nothing? Job fairs are another thing. So we're at a lot of colleges. We do a lot of presentations. Job fairs used to be super popular, hundreds of students. And now virtual fairs were not super successful. And back to in-person haven't been super successful because people don't want to be in a large group. So that's another thing of like, okay, how do we have the same impact to the same student body, but differently? Like, how do you get people to show up virtually, or how do you get people to show up in person, or how do you get your message out? And so that would be an example of something we're still figuring out. I mean, and I don't think anybody knows yet what the answer to that is, because it's just all different. So
do you guys, you said colleges, do you work with high schools also, or this is an 18+ position, right?
It is. You have to be 18 and over.
Okay.
Unfortunately, or fortunately for the people that we support, but for our job pool, that shrinks it a little bit.
It does.
But we actually have a college present or a high school presentation in our Eugene office today, I believe, talking to graduating high school students, because it is a career, and nonprofits, like we talked about in the last podcast, if you want to get into a nonprofit, you might not know what you're getting into until you're there. And so having the opportunity to talk to people that work at nonprofits, to learn about different nonprofits, what's going on, what does it look like, I think is really valuable. So the more we can get out into the community, the better.
Interesting. And the beauty of that, though, is like graduating seniors, or, maybe partway through their senior year, that sort of thing. They are 18. These are flexible positions, right? So as you evolve and target that, and I mean, it's going to be fun to see how you tackle these problems. I just remember, I don't know, last year sometime when you and I first met, it was like, hold on, Kathryn, you have how many people on staff? you have an incredible amount of influence that you're hiring all of these people. Like, whoa, this is a big job that you do. So obviously it's exciting, and we can hear your excitement and passion on this. So keep up the good work. That's all I can say. Oh man.
Thanks.
Yeah,
You too.
I love that. Yeah, not I have a tenth of the impact you do, and that might be over egoing myself here. So it's incredible.
All right, Kathryn, thank you again for joining us. To our audience, I just want to say, we don't ask very much on here. We're mostly looking to preach the gospel of financial literacy for all. You know, this is a free thing that we do. Obviously, our podcast doesn't cost any money to listen to, and we love that. We want to spread knowledge throughout everybody. I hope that as many people as possible get to hear these things that can help them grow their wealth. But I am going to ask that if you know someone, please get them in touch with Kathryn. This is incredibly powerful and important work. If you know someone who's graduating, if you know someone who's retiring, if you know someone who just loves the idea of helping people, this is an awesome career that clearly, Kathryn, you've shown us can have a ton of flexibility too. If you only got 10 or 20 hours a week, you can still be part of this wonderful movement. And they need people. I really, it's sad to me that COVID impacted you guys the way it did. In my mind, for some reason, I thought that these services would just kind of plow through that, but I understand that there were a number of logistical issues that you ran into, and you guys, it sounds like you were hit as hard as some of the hardest hit industries like restaurants and other groups. Yeah. So Kathryn, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me. You can send me an email. My email address is Kathryn, KATHRYNG, as in girl, Kathryn G at riseservicesinc.org. Or you can text or call me by phone at 503-345-8001. And Rise Services also has a Facebook and social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that good social media stuff at Rise Services Inc. So you can look us up there as well.
Awesome. riseservicesinc.org. Check out their website, find out what they're doing. And again, if you know someone, let them know this is an awesome opportunity. You guys are all over the place too, right? So you don't have to come to the Portland Metro. This is, we talk about work from home, the freedom of being able to work from anywhere. You can do this anywhere because they need help everywhere. So again, please, if you can think of someone, check out the show notes. If you want to contact any of us directly, you can also check out our website, getrichslowpodcast.com. And thanks so much for listening, folks. Kathryn, we look forward to wrapping this up with episode 3, where we talk about the future of Rise Services and where you guys are headed.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. Oh, thank you, Kathryn.